Hello, I'm Bill Walsh, AARP Senior Vice President, and I'd like to welcome you to Real Answers Right Now from AARP. Today we're discussing the recently released 2026 Social Security Trustees Report and what it means for Americans. We'll also discuss customer service at the Social Security Administration and debunk common myths about the program. We'll hear from AARP leaders Bill Sweeney and John Hishta, retired Social Security Administration official Stephen Richardson, and AARP Chief Advocacy and Engagement Officer Nancy LeaMond. And as always, we'll be taking your questions live. Before we begin, if you'd like to listen to this town hall in Spanish, press *0 on your telephone keypad now.
Si usted desea escuchar en español, presione *0 en su teléfono ahora.
AARP, a non-profit, non-partisan membership organization, has been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans for more than 65 years. Through events like this, AARP continues to provide information and resources to help older adults and those caring for them. Social Security is one of the most important sources of financial security for older Americans and their families. For many, it helps pay for everyday essentials and represents peace of mind earned over a lifetime of work. Today we'll break down what the latest Trustees report tells us, separate common Social Security myths from facts, and talk about why Americans strongly support the program while still worrying about its future. We'll also discuss service and access at the Social Security Administration, including wait times, online services, and My Social Security accounts. For those of you joining us on the phone, if you'd like to ask a question, press *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member who will note your name and question and place you in a queue to ask that question live. If you're joining on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments section. Hello, if you're just joining us, I'm Bill Walsh with AARP, and I want to welcome you to Real Answers Right Now from AARP. To help understand what's happening and what's in store for Social Security, we'll speak with experts who will share their insights and will take your questions live. To ask your question, all you have to do is press *3 on your telephone keypad or drop it into the comments section on Facebook or YouTube. To help us work through these questions, I'd like to welcome our panel today. Bill Sweeney is a Senior Vice President at AARP. Bill leads advocacy efforts and benefiting older Americans, including efforts to protect Social Security, strengthen Medicare, support caregivers, and lower prescription drugs. Welcome to the program, Bill.
Thanks so much.
All right. John Hishta is a Senior Vice President at AARP. John leads campaigns that ensure your voices are heard on important issues such as Social Security and Medicare. Welcome, John.
Glad to be here, Bill. Thanks.
All right. And Steve Richardson is a retired Regional Communications Director for the Social Security Administration. For more than 38 years, Steve helped people understand and access their Social Security benefits. Welcome to the program, Steve.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Welcome to you all. Let's dive right in. Let's start with the latest Trustees report. What have we learned from the recently released report? Is there anything new or different in it, Bill Sweeney?
Well, the report confirms what we've known, that Social Security isn't going broke. It's not going bankrupt. It'll be able to continue to make payments well into the next century. Not much has changed in the short term either. For the combined trust funds for Social Security, starting in late 2034, Social Security will be able to make about 83% of the payments. And that's about the same date and the same percentages as last year. What has changed in this report was really in the very long term. So the trustees did predict that over the very long term, over about 75-year window, Social Security could have some more challenges given declining birth rates and some demographic issues. So that is something that we're keeping an eye on. But in the near term, in the next 10 or 15 years, it's essentially what we've sort of come to expect from the last few years.
Okay. John Hishta, did you want to add anything?
I think it's important also to understand that Congress still has time to act to make sure that the program is preserved and strengthened for future generations as well. We have plenty of time, and we encourage those folks to start having a debate and conversation and get going on what needs to be done to fix the program for the long run.
Well, that's a nice segue to my next question, because it seems Americans overwhelmingly support action to fix Social Security finances, yet there's been very little action in Washington. Is there a disconnect in what you hear from older Americans and what you hear from members of Congress, their staffs, and other groups in Washington about Social Security? Where's their disagreement and where are their differences? Bill Sweeney?
So yeah, absolutely, and I think this is something that is really critical for us to seize on at this moment. You know, we have heard for the last, 4 or 5 election cycles, people have been really focused on economic uncertainty, the challenges around affordability. We heard that loud and clear last year in our 90th anniversary celebrations on Social Security, and we've done recent surveys that show 81% of older adults disagree with the idea of cutting Social Security in order to save it, and yet there are special interests here in Washington, D.C. who are lobbying Congress every single day to cut benefits, to cut Social Security that people have earned. And we need to make sure that they hear loud and clear from the public that those sorts of proposals are a terrible idea. It doesn't make sense for people who are trying to make ends meet right now, and we need to really push back against that.
All right. John? Anything to add?
Well, yeah, if you want to join our fight, go to aarp.org/Social Security voter, and you'll get all the information you need on how to participate and help encourage our members of Congress like Bill suggested.
All right. Well, echoing what you all were just saying, AARP polling finds that across generations and political views, Americans are unified in support of Social Security and strongly oppose cuts. But Americans also share a deep concern about the program's future. Why does Social Security provoke both trust and worry? John?
Honestly, because both feelings make sense at the end of the day. Americans have trusted Social Security because it's been around for generations. For more than 90 years, it has helped provide a foundation for financial security for retirees, people with disabilities, and families. And most importantly, it has never missed a payment. At the same time, because of all these conversations that emanate from special interests and others, people are worried because they hear constant warnings. They hear claims that Social Security is running out of money and discussions about cuts fueled by those special interests, and they're just flatly out of touch with everyday Americans. You know, at the end of the day, everyday Americans are worried about their own grocery bills and everyday costs, and they want to make sure that if they're collecting Social Security income, that is going to be there for them for the long run. And our polling consistently shows that Americans want leaders to stop arguing about whether Social Security matters and start focusing on protecting and strengthening it. And so people trust Social Security, but at the same time, they're a little less confident in their elected leaders to do right by them.
All right. So, Bill Sweeney, Americans regularly hear that Social Security is running out of money, yet, as John just pointed out, payments continue every month and have for many years. Who or what fuels the rhetoric about solvency, and why is it made to feel like cuts to payments are a foregone conclusion?
Well, look, Social Security is overwhelmingly popular with the American public, and yet there is a small group of people in Washington who have been advocating for cuts to Social Security for decades now, and they continue to do that. They're looking at any way that they can to put on the table the idea that we should be cutting the benefits that people have earned. And when we've asked our members and the American public about this, 58% of people say that the average Social Security benefit right now is already too low. Who's running out of money are the American seniors who are trying to make ends meet on Social Security, who live on Social Security. And so I think there's a couple things to remember. The last time Social Security faced an insolvency crisis back in 1983, they cut benefits by about 19%. Those of us who are not yet at retirement age are all going to sort of experience that 19% cut. And to cut further into Social Security just compounds the difficulty that people have in affording their retirement. So we've been clear with Congress. We are not going to cut further. We can't afford to cut further, and the American people agree with us that cuts should be off the table.
All right. Let's turn to Steve Richardson. Steve, you worked for the Social Security Administration for many years. There seem to be a lot of myths circulating about Social Security. People accuse it of being a Ponzi scheme. They say it's rife with fraud, it's inefficient, or that it's an entitlement. Can you put these myths to rest?
Yeah, I think one of them we've already touched on, and one of the main myths that we hear, quite frankly, is that Social Security is going broke. The fact is, as long as workers and employers pay payroll taxes, Social Security will not run out of money. It's a pay-as-you-go system. So revenue coming in from FICA taxes or self-employed taxes largely cover the benefits going out. So that's one of the misnomers. Another one is, and I hear this quite frankly, even after I retired, and that a lot of folks don't realize that their full retirement age changed. A lot of people still feel that their full retirement age for Social Security is age 65. The fact is, the full retirement age, or what's referred to as the FRA, the age when a worker qualifies to file for 100% of the benefit calculated from a lifetime of earnings history, is actually 66 and 10 months for people born in 1959 and 67 for those born in 1960 or later. So they changed. They raised the retirement age some years ago. Another one is do members of Congress, do they pay into the Social Security system? The fact is, the common complaint about Social Security is that members of Congress don't bother fixing the system because it doesn't cover them. Actually, it does. Members of Congress came under the Social Security umbrella, in 1984, along with the rest of the federal workforce. And another one that we see is undocumented immigrants. Are they draining Social Security? The facts are that some have blamed problems with Social Security's financial health or undocumented immigrants, rather, draining the system's resources. It's a popular complaint, but it's false. Non-citizens who live and work in the U.S. legally can qualify for Social Security under the same terms as native-born or naturalized Americans, but undocumented people are not eligible to claim benefits. In terms of administrative costs, the Social Security Administration runs very low administrative costs and have historically done so. An entitlement, look, you paid in. It's a system that we all paid into with FICA tax deductions or self-employed deductions. And in terms of, what they're doing to fight fraud, Social Security does have an Office of the Inspector General, and they're really focusing on, quite a bit of fraud, but disability fraud is one area where they concentrate their efforts.
All right. Steve, thanks so much for that. It's now time to address your questions live with Bill Sweeney, John Hishta, and Steve Richardson. As a reminder, press star 3 at any time on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member and get in the queue to ask your question live. I'd now like to bring in AARP Vice President Reshma Mehta, who will facilitate your calls today. Welcome, Reshma.
Thanks, Bill. Happy to be here.
Who do we have first on the line?
All right, first up, we have Gary from Fairport, New York.
Hey, Gary, welcome to the program. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm still concerned about somebody coming up with a formula that will actually insulate the population from the Social Security insolvency problem. It doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that inflation rises twice as fast as the Social Security in so-called inflationary protection from year to year, and of course some years we get nothing. But beyond that, the fact that they're moving up the age in which to collect full Social Security, now, as you said, 67, the most recent generation, still doesn't account for we're pulling out more than we're taking in. And I'm wondering if anybody has the spine to figure out what it will take to overhaul a system so that Social Security will be guaranteed for future generations.
All right, Gary, thanks so much. Bill Sweeney?
Well, look, that's a great question. And I think that the key thing to really understand, again, is that Social Security has money coming in. It has 83% of what it needs. And so Social Security really needs, about a 20% fix. It doesn't need to be completely undone and rebuilt. It just needs a 20% gap that needs to be closed. And that is absolutely doable. The size of that kind of package is about the kind of size of packages that Congress has been passing in the last few years to address things like the COVID pandemic or tax cuts or other things that have been a priority. So if Social Security is a priority for this country, Congress has the tools that they need to protect Social Security and make sure that people get the money that they have earned over a lifetime of hard work. And that's what they should do.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Reshma, let's take another call.
Sure. The next caller we have is Gertrude from right here in Washington, D.C.
Hey, Gertrude, welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, my question was why tax max, which was decided in 1983, should be 90% of all salaries, was allowed to drift down to as low as 82% of all salaries, simply because people during the Reagan administration were in the higher brackets were getting 10 to 20% wage increases each year, and because they were not being taxed at the 90% rate for the entire earnings of people, gradually what was coming into Social Security dropped down to about 82% of what it should be. And the argument that they made then, I think, was that, well, these people were earning so much they would never get that much Social Security. But I'll bet large numbers of them lost their cushy little jobs in subsequent years and wish they had put away that much money.
Right.
And what can be done to get us back to tax max at 90%?
All right, Gertrude, thanks for the question. Bill Sweeney?
So that is actually one of the proposals that we're seeing on the table. There's actually, we just heard that there's a bipartisan group coming together to suggest something along those lines. The truth is that what we've seen since the 1980s in the tax issues is that the wage inequality has dramatically changed in the United States since then. And back in 1983, things were very different in our economy than they are today. And the Social Security does need to keep updated with the way that people are earning money today and the way salaries work. It's very different than it was then. And that is something that needs to be on the table as we look at how to address this. And you're absolutely right that if they had addressed this some years ago, it would have put Social Security in a much better fiscal position today. But we are where we are. We're about 6 years away from the place that they really need to do that. So, this is something that they're going to have to look at as they address the financial situation at Social Security.
Okay, thanks very much. Reshma, let's take another question.
Sure, and the next one's actually coming from our live Facebook stream. So Barbara from Facebook asks, what can we do to inform younger Americans that Social Security is important to them too, and they need to pay attention to what is happening in Washington?
All right, great question. John, do you want to field that one?
Well, I would say first of all, anybody can go to our website and get all the updated information at AARP.org on Social Security and where it stands. Second of all, I would encourage young people to really pay attention because they do have a stake in the game. Every paycheck that they earn, 6.2% of that money goes to the Social Security Trust Fund. And so whether you're 18 or 28 or 38, someday you're going to want to make sure that those benefits are there for you as well. And so I would encourage anybody who is of working age to really start to pay attention to this and do their research as well so that they know that what their members of Congress are doing, what their senators are doing about the issue, and that they can help everybody to make sure that the program is around for them when they retire as well.
All right. Thanks so much, John. Reshma, let's take another question.
Sure, and the next question is another live caller. We have Mark from Arkansas.
Hey, Mark, welcome to the program. Go ahead with your question.
My question is, what about, I think, if I rightly recall, there are certain programs that have been tagged on the Social Security Fund that are taking money from Social Security. And is there some way we can do something about that? That's my question. And or is it totally inaccurate?
Let me ask Steve Richardson about that. Steve, are there is money flowing out of Social Security for other programs?
Yeah, I think, well, you'd have to go back and what are the government regulations surrounding the government's ability to borrow from the trust funds, number one, and what restrictions are put on, the borrowing of it and how they will be paid back in full faith when it comes time to redeem the borrowing. It's a separate sort of trust fund, generally speaking. But again, when the time comes, the money's going to have to be paid back in full.
All right, very good. Let's take another caller.
Sure, and the next caller we have is Genevieve from Maryland.
Hey, Genevieve, welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
My question was, I thought Social Security was designed for a supplement, like you save all your life for your retirement, or you pay into a retirement fund if you're lucky enough to have one through work. But Social Security was never designed to support you. That was my understanding. And so all of my life I have saved because I'm 87 years old. And so I know Social Security was one of the richest parts of the government back before World War II. World War II borrowed from it, the Korean War borrowed from it, and beyond and on. So again, if people pay in, that's true. But I don't think they should think they can live on this when they become 65 to 67, 8, or what. They need to have some other kind of an income.
Yeah.
To my understanding.
That's a fair point, Genevieve. Gentlemen? John?
Genevieve, at the end of the day, Social Security was designed to be just one of the many stools for retirement. But having said that, in today's society, literally 43% of American workers have no access to any kind of employer-based 401k program. And so that just reiterates the importance of Social Security and the reason why it has to be a consistent, strengthened, and preserved stream of income for folks once they do retire. If we can make sure that that retirement income is there for folks, that at least gives some folks a peace of mind as they go into their retirement years. It certainly helps. Should it be 100%? No, but it is, according to everything that we hear from our population, one of the main sources of income for people over the age of 65. I mean, 43% of the folks on Social Security right now say it is their main source of income. And so it's something that we have to make sure is preserved and strengthened for future generations, and frankly, isn't cut, because that would be a big hit for folks who need it for their everyday expenses.
Okay. Let's take another call.
Yeah, and actually we're going to go to another Facebook question. Monica from Facebook asks, I'd understood from articles in the press that the Social Security Trust Fund will be out of funds by 2033, and if Congress does not take action, that current Social Security will have to cut current recipients' benefits by 20 to 22%. Is this correct?
Bill Sweeney, can you address that?
Yeah, so this is one of these statistics that gets thrown around, and I think it's important. John mentioned earlier, this has never happened in the 90-plus years that Social Security has been around. This kind of thing has never happened, and it can only happen if the voters allow it to happen. And I think one of the things that we're hearing in Washington is people pushing this number, this idea that if we don't do anything, the benefits will be cut by 22%. I believe because they want to propose some other cuts that are a little bit less than 22% and try to sell that to you as a victory, and it's not. There's no reason that even a dollar needs to be cut from Social Security, and I think it's really important to understand how toxic this would be. We actually asked voters recently what they would you vote for your member of Congress if they let 22% cuts to Social Security go into effect. It won't surprise you, 75% of older adults said absolutely not.
A clear message to candidates as the midterms approach.
I think Congress knows that, and I think that will make sure that they don't ever let something like that happen.
Okay, thanks, Bill. We are going to take more of your questions later on the program. Right now, I want to take a couple minutes and bring in AARP's Chief Advocacy and Engagement Officer, Nancy LeaMond, who will share how AARP is fighting for you. Welcome, Nancy.
Thanks, Bill. Great to be with you.
All right, it's great to have you. The challenges Social Security faces have been widely understood for years. So why are we all still waiting for action?
Well, as everyone said so far today, this latest Trustees report is a wake-up call that Congress needs to act now. The timeline has been clear for years, but action just hasn't kept up. And as Bill said earlier, they have the tools, and the stakes are only getting higher. More than 71 million Americans rely on Social Security today, and for many, it's essential income, not extra. The bottom line is that Social Security works. It's one of the most successful programs in our history and has kept millions of Americans out of poverty and retirement. This is about a promise. People paid in over a lifetime of hard work, planned their futures around it. That promise simply needs to be kept.
Okay. Well, Nancy, what is needed to prompt Congress to take some action on this front? And what does AARP want lawmakers to do?
Well, first, this is far too important to be political. Americans earn these monthly payments. Lawmakers need to protect and strengthen Social Security, period, not weaken it. Congress needs to act with urgency and accountability because Americans expect their leaders to keep their word. And AARP is going to keep pushing for solutions that protect what people have earned.
How can AARP members share their concerns and frustrations with their elected leaders?
Well, we know AARP members have a powerful voice. Lawmakers need to hear directly from you, whether that's reaching out to your members of Congress, sharing your personal story about what Social Security means to you and your family, or getting involved in AARP's advocacy efforts. Our role is to take that collective voice and turn it into real influence so leaders understand both the urgency and the real-life impact. When millions of older Americans speak up clearly and consistently, leaders listen and action follows. And so at this point in the call, it's over to all of you on the call. Show leaders that we expect them to strengthen Social Security without cuts. Our new Social Security Bill of Rights is calling for 1, no cuts to Social Security payments, 2, no cuts to the annual COLA, 3, no raising the retirement age, and 4, no privatizing Social Security. Those of you on the call or on Facebook, will you add your name and commit to fighting back against the special interests who want to cut our Social Security payments? Press 1 to sign on to the Social Security Bill of Rights if you're on the phone, or if you're streaming today's program on Facebook or YouTube, we've added the link aarp.org/yes to add your name to it.
Okay, very good.
Please pitch in.
Very good. Thank you, Nancy. So folks on the phone just have to press 1 to sign on to the Social Security Bill of Rights, and folks on Facebook or YouTube can simply go to aarp.org/yes to add their name. Nancy, thanks so much for being with us today.
Sure.
All right. Let's get back to our conversation about Social Security services, access, and accountability. And a reminder to our listeners, if you'd like to ask a question, go ahead and press *3 on your telephone keypad at any time. For our experts, cost of living adjustments are meant to help Social Security keep pace with inflation in retirement. At the same time, we often hear from older Americans, as we just heard in one of our calls, that they don't believe the annual adjustment is enough. In 2025, the cost of living increase was 2.5%. Steve, can you please talk about the basics of those cost of living adjustment payments?
Sure. The cost of living adjustment is based on changes in the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. They refer to this as the W index. It's an inflation measure tracked by the Department of Labor, and Social Security compares this W index each year for July, August, and September for 1 year to the same period the year before. So the average percentage change in the index over those 3 months determines the amount of the COLA. So this W index, it tracks the cost of durable goods and the wages of urban workers, generally speaking. A good point to make about the COLA is a cost of living adjustment or increase is not guaranteed. If there is no inflation in a given year, there will be no cost of living adjustment to the benefits the following year. This has happened a handful of times, most recently in 2016.
Okay, well, Bill Sweeney, is there any discussion in Congress about making changes to the COLA?
Unfortunately, there is, and this is one of the areas where people who want to cut Social Security go to the most frequently. There is a proposal that just came out a few weeks ago by a group in D.C. that would basically temporarily freeze the COLA, that would skip the COLA every other year, which would, over the course of someone's retirement, would mean that Social Security was barely able to keep up with their rising costs. In fact, Social Security is one of the only things in most people's retirement portfolio that is inflation-proof and that keeps up with inflation. And what we've seen last month, inflation was at 4.8%. It's really hard to keep up if your Social Security doesn't go up too. So AARP has been strongly opposed to any changes to those cost of living adjustments because it is absolutely essential for people to be able to put food on the table, to keep paying their rent even as their costs go up.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about customer service at the Social Security Administration. Some people have struggled with long wait times and difficulty reaching a real person at Social Security. Some service delays can cause financial and healthcare disruptions, and the consequences are very real. What is AARP doing to push for better customer service and access? And what is the Social Security Administration doing?
Well, this is one of the things we've worked on for over a decade. We've got Social Security is now dealing with more customers than it ever has, and its funding levels are, frankly, embarrassingly low. Staffing at Social Security dropped from a little over 57,000 at the start of 2025, which was already a low figure, to under $50,000 employees this year. And what that means is that people are calling in and they're waiting longer. If you call and ask to be called back, you're now waiting on average about 41 minutes to get a call back from someone. And we know that our constituency, the 50 plus, are the ones who call Social Security the most. The truth is, the money that you pay into Social Security also pays for customer service. The customer service budget of Social Security comes out of the trust fund. And it is essential that we get the services that we are entitled to, that when you call somebody and you need help with your Social Security, that you can get it in a reasonable time frame. And so this is a big area of effort at AARP. We've seen Congress start to really get in the mix and do some serious oversight. And we continue to work closely with Social Security and the leadership there to make sure that the changes they're making will improve customer service, not hurt it.
Well, let me follow up on that. Of course, many services today are more convenient online, and it makes sense that Social Security Administration is expanding its online offerings, such as My Social Security Accounts. But access is still an issue for some people. How is AARP advocating for a system that works for everyone while helping people feel confident about trying their My Social Security account?
So absolutely. I mean, look, if you are online and you can sign up for a My Social Security account, you absolutely should. I have an account. It's an amazing resource. I go every now and then and look at it. You can actually see specifically how much you're going to get if you retire at an early age or wait till the maximum benefit. But we know that not everyone's comfortable or able to do that online, and that's why we're fighting so hard to preserve the other options to get a hold of Social Security. For instance, twice last year, the administration proposed and then walked back plans that would have created restrictions on phone service or requiring callers to verify their identity online. And both times AARP and others raised concerns that those restrictions would have forced millions of seniors to travel to field offices, perhaps for hours at a time, or wait on hold even longer for services on the phone. And so we have really engaged our team here at AARP, our campaigns operation. We've sent over 2 million emails to Congress urging them to do better in customer service. And again, we're seeing legislation that came out a little bit last month that would finally actually do some real oversight on Social Security and ensure that customer service improves. And I think that's a really big deal. SSA is committed to meeting people where they are, whether that's online or on phone or in person, and we're going to hold them accountable for that.
All right, very good. It's now time to take more of your questions live with Bill Sweeney, John Hishta, and Steve Richardson. As a reminder, if you'd like to join the conversation, press *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member, or drop it into the comment section on YouTube or Facebook. Reshma, who do we have on the line now?
Sure, thanks, Bill. Our first caller is Ed from Texas.
Hey, Ed, welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
Good afternoon, folks. Nancy kind of touched upon this, but what specifically can we do to really hold these guys accountable to get these problems fixed and not just keep kicking this can? I know we talk about writing to your legislators, and I know we talk about putting your names and signing up and so forth. But, I mean, you got a Washington that is completely divided. You have lobbyists who are lobbying against or lobbying for cuts. And I'm just not sure if the traditional ways of holding these guys accountable really work this day. So, I mean, is there anything else that we can do to take this up a level and hold these guys accountable?
All right, great question, Ed. John?
So, Ed, thanks for the question. And I'm going to go back and make a comment that Bill made several minutes ago, and that is that politicians understand that their currency is voters, and at the end of the day, they're not going to make a decision to do nothing because they know that that is something that will generate a lot of opposition to their ability to get reelected. Having said that, there's a couple of points I want to make. First, this year is the first year that people who run for the Senate, and in your case, you have an open Senate seat in Texas, that person who gets elected will have to be able to deal with this issue directly come 2032. So for the first time, senators who are elected this year will directly deal with this issue once the debate is fully joined. The second point I would make is that before we know it, in 2028, there will be a new presidential election. That president has to deal with this issue. Full stop. Our efforts are geared towards recruiting folks like yourself and many more around the country so that we can make sure the electorate stands up and says to Congress on an ongoing basis, not just one and done, but on an ongoing basis, you need to fix this so that Social Security is preserved and protected for not just this generation, for future generations as well, and not by cutting benefits. Full stop. And so I would encourage you to go to our website. Again, stay involved, aarp.org/Social Security voter, and continue to stay engaged. And we'll continue to make sure we organize folks around the country to put that kind of pressure on members of Congress and the new President of the United States.
All right, John, thanks so much. Reshma, let's take another call.
Sure, and actually the next question comes from Tony on Facebook. Can a sitting president do whatever he or she wants and make changes to Social Security? And if so, would it last?
Bill Sweeney?
No. The answer is no. And actually, Social Security is kind of unique in the sausage making in Washington that under the law, a law that was passed in 1974, any changes to Social Security require 60 votes in the Senate. There's no way to get around it. There's no special tricks. The president can't do an executive order. It has to go through regular order in the Senate and get that 60 vote margin, which basically means it has to be bipartisan. Democrats and Republicans have to work together. The House, the Senate, the president have to work together. And that's how it's always been. So I think as we go into this next 6 years, as John pointed out, the people that we're electing are going to be the people that have to sit in that room. And that's a question we need to ask them is, can you sit in that room and make that decision? Because it needs to get done before 2032.
All right, very good. Reshma, let's take our next call.
Yeah, the next caller is Diane from Florida.
Hey, Diane, welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, hang on, I'm sorry. I was married over 15 years and able to collect Social Security on my former husband, but I was getting more on my own. That was 13 years ago. If it was more now, could I change to collect from his?
All right. Well, let's ask Steve Richardson about that. Steve?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So you're describing the divorce spousal provisions within the Social Security law. So you've already pointed to the fact that you've met some of the qualifications, and one is you got to be married for over 10 years, right? Got to be married for over 10 years. Your spouse must be at least age 62 in order for you to file under their account. And this is really the kicker. The rules changed about 10 years ago regarding spousal benefits, and they say that the only way you can collect from a divorced spouse or a married living spouse is only if you can get more money from their account than you can yourself. So that's really where it comes into play. So you have to determine, and Social Security will only pay the higher of the two. They don't pay both. So that's the first thing Social Security would look at. So generally speaking, if your own benefit based on your own work history, yields you a higher monthly rate than what you could get from your ex, Social Security is only going to pay under your own account. Now, something could change to close this out. If your divorced spouse were to predecease you, you could potentially be eligible for a higher surviving divorced rate. So that's something you'll have to stay in touch with Social Security on. And be sure you have your marriage certificate and your divorce decree on hand because they'll require it.
Okay, Steve, thanks so much for that information. Very helpful. Reshma, who's next?
Sure. The next caller we have is Susan from California.
Hey, Susan, welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Yes. I recently retired at 62, and I'm living on my monthly work pension right now. My question is, do you recommend going ahead and getting Social Security now or waiting to 65? I was calculating it, and I think it's like $67,000 for the 2 years if I wait until I reach 65. I thought that if I waited, then later on when I was older, I would be getting more monthly than if I went ahead and got it now.
Right.
What do you recommend?
Susan, that's a great question. Let's turn to Steve Richardson. Steve?
Yeah, ma'am. This is when I would go out when I was a public relations practitioner in my earlier life, the three most important parts about Social Security is education, education, education. It's attending retirement seminars. It's doing your homework. It's understanding where Social Security fits into your retirement portfolio. As it was stated earlier in the show, to the average wage earner, Social Security only represents about 41% of one's pre-retirement income. So it's just one piece of the pie. You've got to consider physical health. You've got to consider financial health. You've got to consider longevity in your family in terms of when to decide to file. How do you land on that all-important answer to the question of when? And truthfully, ma'am, everybody's when is different. Everyone on this call, their whens and their motivations are going to be different. So you're based on your questions, you're well on your way. I can tell by the questions you're asking. They're very educated. You are thinking in the long term. It is a plan that says the longer you wait, the more you get. There's no question about it. If you look at your statement, you can draw as early as 62. You can wait till your full retirement age or any month in between. Or you can wait till age 70 and receive a maximum payment. So when factoring all these things together, also, you didn't mention if you were married or not, spousal benefits are a big part of this thing too. So I would urge you to, keep doing your homework. The effort that you put into this question, I can tell that you've spent some time on this thing, and I'm urging you to continue to do so. Put the same effort and hard work into, all your other retirement decisions, and throw them Social Security's way and understand how important it is. This decision is very important.
Okay, Steve, thanks so much for that. Let's take another call.
Yeah, and the next question comes to us from Facebook. Paul from Facebook asks, an instant betterment for people to maximize Social Security funds is to remove federal and state taxes on the disbursements. Why do governments tax Social Security when many people depend on this money?
Bill Sweeney?
That's a great question. So there's only a few states that continue to tax Social Security benefits. Most of them don't anymore. At the federal level, there is a tax on Social Security benefits that was put into place, and we keep talking about 1983. It was put in place back in 1983, and it was supposed to only hit the top the very top 10% of wage earners, which at the time was about $25,000. And today it hits about 40% of people because they never indexed it for inflation. We talked about the importance of indexing for inflation. They didn't do that back in 1983. And so now it's hitting more and more people. Look, last year, Congress passed a bill that helped offset some of those taxes on Social Security for people, the senior bonus deduction that AARP supported. And so that was one piece of that puzzle. But it is something that we hear all the time from people, that they've paid taxes their whole life and they are frustrated to see taxes come back out. The one piece that you should know about the tax on Social Security benefits at the federal level is that every penny of that goes back into the Social Security Trust Fund. And so as frustrating as it might be to get hit with that tax, that money does go back into Social Security, so it's not going to fund other parts of the government. But that is something that likely will be part of any discussion that Congress makes as a larger solvency package that they work on.
Okay, very good. Reshma, let's take another question.
Sure. The next question we have is Lisa from Ohio.
Hey, Lisa, welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, I am more than of age for Social Security, and I've been having trouble with the website as far as trying to file for it. When I first looked, I couldn't even get my statements. After I gave it about 10 days, I can now see my statements, but I'm still unable to file an online application. Has anyone else had this kind of issue?
Thanks for the question, Lisa. Steve, you worked for Social Security for 38 years. What can you tell us about the website and the access issues Lisa is describing?
Could be a couple of issues here. Could be your telephone number when you created your account. If you had changed your telephone line or your address, or there might be some inconsistency in some of the data that they have when somebody does enroll in a My Account. The fact that you've gotten to your statement is a good thing. It really is. But in terms of filing, I think what I would recommend is you need to contact them directly. You may have to have your account reset, and then you can freely file online. Let me just close with about filing online. As doing this for 40 years out there, and we were moving people towards filing online for years now. I would always say, if you're very comfortable with it and you're ready to go and you've done your homework and remember, education, you've done your homework and you've thought about this long and hard and you're ready to file, by all means, do it online if you're comfortable with it. But remember, how many times do you file for retirement benefits in a lifetime? One time. You'll still have the option of speaking with somebody. You can do a telephone interview or make an appointment in some cases that you could appear in person at your Social Security office. So you've got some options there. I would call them and request that they reset your account. They may very well do it.
Okay, Steve, thanks so much. We are going to take more questions from our listeners shortly, but I wanted to give everyone a reminder that if you'd like to add your name to the Social Security Bill of Rights, go ahead and press 1 now on your telephone keypad. Just as a reminder, our Social Security Bill of Rights calls for no cuts to Social Security payments, no cuts to the COLA, no raising the retirement age, and no privatizing Social Security. Again, go ahead and press 1 to sign onto the Social Security Bill of Rights, or if you're streaming today's program on Facebook or YouTube, we've added a link, aarp.org/yes to add your name. Let's turn now to the broader retirement landscape and how Social Security fits into the way people work and save and care for their family and plan for the future. Social Security is a vital component of retirement, but it's just one element, as one of our callers was pointing out earlier. Bill Sweeney, I wonder if you can discuss retirement preparedness and what AARP is doing on that front.
Well, absolutely, this is something that comes up all the time. Back in the day, people used to talk about sort of retirement as a three-legged stool, and the three legs were your pension that you would get from your employer, your own private savings, and Social Security. And what we've seen in the last 20 years or so. Hardly anybody has a pension anymore. What we've seen, the Bureau of Labor Statistics put out a study that showed people stay at their jobs only 3.5 or 4 years on average. So people are moving jobs a lot more than they used to. And John pointed out earlier that only about 53% of people in the private sector actually have access to the ability to save for retirement. So about half of people don't have any way to save for retirement at work. They don't have 401ks. Think about gig workers. There's no 401ks or things for them. So what we're seeing is really a challenge, a real crisis in retirement security. Without access, people can't save, and Social Security does become more important for people as a result. And so, we know that having the ability to save in your job, it makes you about 15 times more likely to save for retirement. So we're really fighting hard on that front as well to make sure that everybody has the ability to save for retirement. We're passing laws in states, which we call Work and Save, that give people the ability to save for retirement in their jobs. And we're looking at federal legislation as well that would do that across the board, across the country, to give people a portable retirement vehicle that they can save and put some money aside and have that when it's time for retirement.
Okay, let me follow up on that. Today, in order to support family members, caregivers may work reduced hours, they work part-time, or continue working longer than they had ever planned to do. Reducing hours affects your Social Security benefits down the road. Should Congress consider changes to Social Security to reflect those realities?
Absolutely. When people take time out of work for caregiving or to have kids, what we see is that it does impact their retirement for the future. And we've been seeing proposals to add what are called caregiver credits within Social Security so that those people who do drop out of the workforce or take a break in earnings aren't penalized when they get to retirement. And we think this should absolutely be something that Congress considers as part of a broader package of changes when it's time to deal with Social Security solvency.
Yeah, and it's just another example of how much the workforce has changed in modern society. I mean, we're a lot different than we were 40 years ago when Bill referred to the 1983 changes. We're certainly a lot different than we were 91 years ago when Social Security was founded. And so we do know that a lot of Americans take care of their older parents or spouses or grandchildren and whatnot. And so it's important, to Bill's point, that we come up with some fixes that address that as well.
Okay, very good. Let's take some more questions from our listeners for Bill Sweeney, John Hishta, and Steve Richardson. As a reminder, press *3 at any time on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member to share your question live. Reshma, who do we have up next?
Sure. The next question is Mark from Facebook, and he says the president has committed since beginning his campaign for president that he will stop taxing Social Security benefit payments. When or did the no tax go into effect?
So as part of the reconciliation bill that was passed by the Congress last year, there was a tax deduction put into place for those making less than $75,000 as individuals, or those making couples making less than $150,000 as couples, that amounted to a $6,000 deduction for individuals and $12,000 for couples. That took care of a considerable amount of tax for a lot of folks, but that doesn't mean all Social Security taxes have been eliminated. That's just been part of the process heretofore to date. So if you have any questions about that, please consult somebody who is an expert on how to do that, or even go to our tax aid folks here at AARP at the foundation, and they can help you make sure you get the answers on that front when filing your taxes.
All right. Thanks, John. Reshma, let's take another question.
Sure. The next is a live caller from Wisconsin, John from Wisconsin.
Hey, John. Welcome to our program. Go ahead with your question.
I just would like to know if the IRMA is based on adjusted gross income, meaning the one that you have after you take the deductions, or the gross income.
Steve, can you field that one for us?
Yeah, it's based on your modified adjusted gross income. So you go back to 2003, and the Medicare Modernization Act is signed that launched Part D. We all remember this, but there was an amendment to that bill regarding the Part B, as in boy, the Part B Medicare premium, and essentially it was a means testing act by the Fed at that time, by Congress at that time, that said if you had modified adjusted gross income numbers that exceeded certain thresholds, you would be paying a higher Part B premium. So the 2026 Part B premium currently is $202.90 a month. Depending upon what your modified adjusted gross income is on an individual or a couple's tax return, that's going to dictate what your Part B premium is. And keep in mind, folks, what Social Security looks at is that it's a 2-year look back. It's a 2-year look back. So if you sold some property or if you pulled money out of a 401k for whatever reason, you would get a letter from Social Security sometime in November, rolling into the Christmas 2 years, just shy of 2 years later, indicating what the IRS has told them about what your modified adjusted gross income is. So keep that in mind. And as John had pointed out, always a great time to consult with tax experts. When you're pulling money or selling real estate, just know what's happening going forward.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Let's take another caller.
Sure. The next one's actually another Facebook question. Valerie from Facebook asks, if I want to collect Social Security at age 70, which is next May, how soon should I apply? Is it 3 months ahead?
Steve, you want to take that one?
Yeah, you can file up to 4 months in advance. Social Security will allow you to file up to 4 months in advance. Now, if you want your benefits to begin at age 70, you will choose that month that you turn 70 as your month of election on your retirement application, and Social Security will pay you from that month forward.
Okay, good to know. Thanks very much. Let's take another one.
We have one more Facebook question. Georgia from Facebook. I think it's another one for Steve. I've been married for 39 years to my husband. He passed away this year in February. I want to know how much I can get for widow's benefits, since the maximum amount of Social Security benefits I would get from my part-time work would be much less.
Yep. Well, Steve, go ahead.
Great. It's a great question. And again, this is, whenever these questions come in, especially on a platform like this, it's a reminder to us all that Social Security is a lot more than just a retirement program. It really is. Well, you've got disability insurance, you get survivor benefits, spousal benefits. Now, in terms of you being able to draw from your surviving spouse, the standard rules say that if your spouse were to predecease you, you would be eligible for up to 100% of the benefit rate your spouse was drawing at the time of death, provided you yourself are at your own full retirement age, number one, and number two, that your own personal benefit rate is less. So again, you've got a little research to do. You can contact Social Security or look at the paperwork that you have in your home. As a surviving spouse, depending on your age, you're eligible for up to 100% of the benefit rate your spouse was drawing at the time of death, provided you yourself are at your own full retirement age.
Okay. And just to clarify, Steve, you can claim at 70, but that's your maximum payment, right? The benefit isn't going to go up forever.
Yeah, it really is a good question. So we all know that for every month you delay, the benefit goes up. For every year you delay, from your full retirement age up to age 70, you get the delayed retirement credit that equates to about an 8% increase per year. So to your point, what happens at age 70? You don't get the 8% anymore.
Okay. But in general, you would advise people to wait as long as possible, knowing that there is a cap on benefits at age 70.
I mean, again, in terms of advice, financial health, right? Physical health, longevity in your family. What would be a good reason to wait till 70? If you have a spouse, if you were the primary wage earner, if you were to wait till 70 and you were to predecease your spouse, depending upon your surviving spouse's age at the time of your death, they would be eligible for that age 70 rate if they were beyond their own full retirement age. So there are huge advantages to waiting.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Steve. Let me turn to Bill Sweeney. Any final closing thoughts on this topic?
I would just say this. this is such an important conversation, and Social Security is so important to so many people. And we've heard a lot about the different options that are out there and the different things that are happening. And I would just encourage everybody on this call to join our fight. Join our fight. Help us in this effort. We need your voice to be raised, and we need everybody to be part of this effort to get Congress to protect Social Security for the future.
Okay.
I would just reiterate what Bill said and just remind folks, and in particular our elected officials, that Social Security is one of, if the not most important promise our nation has made to hardworking Americans. And they have earned their payments through a lifetime of hard work. And we want to make sure here at AARP that we continue to fight to make sure Social Security is there for not just this generation, but for future generations as well. So go to aarp.org/Social Security voter if you want to join our fight and be part of this larger movement to make sure that Social Security is around for future generations.
All right, thank you both. This has been an important discussion. Bill, John, Steve, Nancy, thank you for sharing your time and insights and answering all these terrific questions from our listeners. And thank you, our AARP members, volunteers, and listeners for participating in this discussion. Before we close, one last reminder, press 1 to sign on to the Social Security Bill of Rights, or if you're streaming today's program, we've added the link aarp.org/yes, so you can add your name to the Social Security Bill of Rights. AARP, a nonprofit, nonpartisan membership organization, has been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans for more than 65 years. All of the resources referenced today, including a recording of the Q&A event, can be found at aarp.org/conversation starting on June 24th. That's tomorrow. Thank you all and have a good day. This concludes our call.